with respect to y is n, and this happens throughout the rectangle R. Yeah, so let me repeat the definition. A first order differential equation is said to be exact on an open rectangle R, provided there is a function u of two variables x and y, such that the partial of u with respect to x is precisely the function m, and the partial derivative of u with respect to the function variable y is the function n, and this is true throughout the rectangle R. Now, you may think that this is of little value since it involves partial derivatives and partial derivatives of an unknown function u, and we haven't studied methods of solving such equations. But let's see how it is useful, right? So let's sort of do some bit of recall. Suppose that u is a function of two variables with continuous first order partial derivatives, right? So the first order partial derivatives of u exist and are continuous. Okay, so let's recall the differential of this function is du is del u by del x dx plus del u by del y dy, right? Which means that suppose that we know that the partial of u with respect to x is m and the partial of u with respect to y is n. So if that plug this in here, what will I have? Then this form, differential form, m dx plus n dy equals, so in place of m, I am going to write down the partial of u with respect to x, and in place of n, I am going to write down the partial derivative of u with respect to y. Now the right hand side is exactly the differential of u, correct? Correct? And this equals 0. What does it mean? It means that u equal to constant, correct? Yes. So this says that u equal to constant is an implicit solution to such an ODE. Yeah. So is this okay with everybody present here? I'll pause for a minute for you to absorb this.
Ma'am, can you please repeat this part from
Yeah,
du equal to u by dou x?
I will. Yeah, I
Thank
will.
you, ma'am.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I'll just give you a minute to sort of still ponder over it, and I will certainly repeat. Okay. Now, okay, so the first thing is that you are given an exact ODE, which means that there is a function u of two variables such that the partial derivative of u with respect to x is m and the partial derivative of u with respect to y is n. Now, the upshot of what is written here is the following. If there is an exact first order ODE as defined here, then this function u xy u equal to c, this actually gives an implicit solution to this ODE, right? Okay. And how is this a solution is what I'm trying to justify here. Now, the first thing that you note here is, now I'm going to assume that the partial derivatives of u with respect to x and y variable are both continuous. Now, if that happens, then what is going to happen? Now, I'm going to write down this. I'm going to consider this. The differential of u du is by definition the partial derivative of u with respect to x dx plus the partial derivative of u with respect to y dy, right? So which means that I'm going to look at this differential form, yeah, which is sort of dictated to me by the given ODE. I'm going to look at m dx plus n dy. I'm going to plug in m as partial of u with respect to x, and I'm going to plug in n as partial of u with respect to y, provided such a u exists, provided this ODE is exact. Then the right hand side is just the differential of u, which is 0, which means that if I integrate this, which means me that u equals to constant is an implicit solution of this exact ODE. So anytime you have an exact ODE and you can find a function u in this manner defined here, then u equal to c, setting u to be a constant, is actually a solution to this ODE. Yeah, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Yes, yeah. We will
That's
also see some examples. So we will also come back to it if if still there are some questions. But for now, whatever is there on this slide, is this bit okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have a small query.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, if u is a constant, then then m and n both goes to 0.
U equal to constant are solutions. Solutions.
Yes, even if m and n go to 0, that's valid, right? So if you put m as 0 and n as 0, you get 0 equal to 0, which is a solution of the equation. Hence, it's an implicit solution.
Yeah, all of that is fine, but we are not looking at zero solutions, right? We are sort of
Exactly.
something
Exactly.
interesting. The
Right.
whole point of this exercise is that you get up with something interesting, right?
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am, but that's not interesting. That's just boring.
Just hold on. We'll take an example. Yeah,
it is like you get a function of u as x plus y equal to constant. So you get the solution y equal to minus x plus c. That is actually a solution.
right. And this is
Exactly.
right. Yeah. So just hold on. I think you'll sort of be a little more comfortable when we actually solve an exact OD. Maybe that'll help. If not, I'll just come back here, right? Just be a little patient. Yeah? Bear with me until that point. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the point is that so we have somehow convinced ourselves that looking at exact ODE is useful, because anytime you have an exact ODE, you get hold of this function u, and that guides it through a solution to that ODE. Now, how do we get hold of this function u is important, right? So here is something about that. So one way to find u is by inspection, of course. And the second way is there is a systematic approach described below, right? Now, what you do is, what is that we want? We want that the partial of u with respect to x should be m, and the partial of u with respect to y should be the function n, right? Now, let's integrate partial of u with respect to x, right? So let's integrate this equation with respect to the x variable, right? So if you do that, what will you get? You will get u of xy is the integral of m dx plus ky. Now what is ky? Ky is the constant of integration that is independent of the variable x, the variable of integration here. Correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now
ma'am.
what we do? Now the step 2 is, what is that we want? In order to determine the function u, you need to find out what is this function k, right? So what is the other information that we have? We use that. What is that we know? We know that the partial of u with respect to y is the function n, correct? So I am going to differentiate the identity, the equation that I get in step 1 with respect to the y variable now, right? So what will I get? The partial of u with respect to the y variable is going to be the derivative of k with respect to the y variable plus the derivative of, whatever we have here with respect to the y variable, correct? And I use the information that the partial of u with respect to y is exactly the given function n, correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now we use these two equations to determine k, and once we have determined k, this gives us u, and we are done. Yeah. So in all of this, I am assuming that this function k is differentiable with respect to the variable y, right? Yeah, I am assuming, right? So in order to go ahead, then I am assuming that k is differentiable, and I am going to differentiate it with respect to y. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Is this bit okay with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's actually work out an example. let's look at this. This is also a homogeneous ODE, but I am going to sort of use the method that we just discussed in order to solve this problem, right?
Ma'am, how is this an ODE? It's 2x plus y square, right? So that is not homogeneous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. This is not homogeneous. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. This is not homogeneous. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Had it been x squared, then it would have been, but the way it is
Yes.
written, it is not. Yeah. Thank you very
Correct.
much for pointing this out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I am going to use the method of inspection here and say that let's look at the following function u. I'm going to say that let's consider the function u defined as x square plus xy square. Now, what is the property of this function? That the partial of u with respect to x is exactly the coefficient of dx, and the partial of u with respect to y is exactly the coefficient of dy, yeah, which is what an exact ODE demands, right? Which means that by what we discussed just a few minutes ago, x square plus xy square equal to c is an implicit general solution of the given ODE. Correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yes? Yeah? Is that okay? This is okay with everybody present here?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Let's.
Ma'am, but I just had one doubt.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Ma'am, can we have, can we define U for any such ODE, or there are some special ODEs only?
If at all we can find such a U, then we say such an ODE is exact. I'm not saying that always exists. Whenever there is a function U such that this happens, then that ODE is exact. Every ODE may not be exact. Some ODEs are exact. If they're exact, then you can use this technology to solve it.
Oh, okay, got it.
Correct? That's all. If that's not exact, then we have to sort of look elsewhere to find solutions.
Okay.
Right? That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay,
Ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
And ma'am, then why are we finding exact ODEs?
See, in general, it is very difficult to come up with one uniform technology to solve an ordinary differential equation. So what we do is, suppose an ODE is separable, then here is what we can do. Here is how we can solve it. Suppose an ODE is homogeneous, then here is what we can do. Suppose an ODE is exact, then here is how we can solve that ODE. Correct?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Not every ODE is exact, not every ODE is separable, not every ODE is homogeneous. But
I have a doubt.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What exactly does the exact ODE or exactness means?
Yeah. See, there is something. See, so this ODE, when you look at it as mdx plus ndy, these are differential forms, and so these are exact differential forms, and there's something called as, which I'm going to discuss a little bit later, closed differential forms, right? So this actually come up in a subject which is sort of beyond the sort of this course, that NA 108, cohomologies and things like that. But maybe you will get to see a little bit of exact and closed differential forms when you do your first course in complex analysis. The sort of differential forms come in there, and what is adapted here is just for the purposes of this course. Yeah. So I'm sort of I'll apologize. We don't have enough background actually to discuss more about differential forms at this stage. Yeah. Maybe
Ma'am?
yeah, content with this. Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
In this definition, what's the meaning of open rectangle R?
So open rectangle means, something very basic. So what do you mean by a rectangle? So I'm just looking at a rectangle in R2, means, a box like this, which means that, so this is all the points X, Y in the R2 plane. So X varies in some interval AB and Y varies in some interval CD. And this is open. Yeah, this is an open set. That's all. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yeah. Yeah, so exact on a region in R2.
Ma'am, is there a check for the exactness?
We will come to that little later. Yeah, I'm going to address that question here, that how do we check whether that OD is exact or not, right? That's a very valid concern. I'm going to answer that now. Yes. But you know, as one of you pointed out, sorry I don't get to see your names, that where is this concept of exact coming in suddenly? So this is from differential forms, you know, which I think you might see a little bit of it in complex analysis first course, but you know, I'm afraid I won't be able to say much more on that. Yeah. So let's see. But I can, you know, sort of maybe sort of give you one tool to decide if an OD is exact or not. Let's see. Let's see. So we have done this. We saw an example, and okay. So a related note is closed forms, and let's see. Let's just bear with me. Let's see this definition, and let's see how are they related to exact forms. So I have a differential form m dx plus n dy. We say that this is closed if the partial of m with respect to y is same as the partial derivative of n with respect to x. Right? So m is the coefficient of dx and n is the coefficient of dy. Yeah? Something to be remembered here. Now, suddenly, why do I worry about closed forms? Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. So this is easy to check. Yeah. Unlike exact forms, whether a form, differential form is closed or not, that is something very easy to check. Correct? Everybody agrees? Right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Here is something that gives you a relation between exact forms and closed forms. So suppose that M and N are defined on a region D in R2. M and M, I'm going to assume these are both are continuous. The first order partial derivatives of M and N exist, and they are also continuous on this region D, right? Okay. So the first claim is following. If m dx plus n dy is an exact differential form, yeah, remember what does it mean? It means that if there is a function u such that the partial of u with respect to x is m and the partial of u with respect to y is n, yeah, that's the definition of an exact differential form, then it is closed. Every exact differential form is closed, right? Provided it's sufficiently nice. You know, what does I mean by nice? The first order partial derivatives of m and n both exist and are continuous. Yes. If that happens, then exact differential form m dx plus n dy is closed. So someone was just asking me, no, how on earth do I check that something is exact or not? So exact implies closed. If something is not closed, then it cannot be exact, right? And whether or not something is closed is very easy to check. Remember, when do we say m dx plus n dy is closed? If the partial of m with respect to y is the same as the partial of n with respect to x. Is this okay with everybody present here?
Ma'am, I had a doubt.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, the first, I mean, going from exact to closed is simple, that we can substitute m as del u by del x and n as del u by del y. So it will give us
We
del
are
2
going
of
to
u.
discuss it.
Yeah.
We will.
But how do we go from closed to differential? Because the double derivative of u will not guarantee us that the single derivatives of u are equal.
So I didn't get your question. How do we go from closed to differential, meaning what?
I mean, how does it imply that if it is closed, then it is exact?
I am not claiming that. See, it's only a one-way implication. If m dx plus n dy is exact, then it is closed.
Okay.
Exact implies closed. The other way is not true.
Understood.
Other way is not true in general. Yeah, closed does not imply exact. I'm only making a one-way implication.
Understood.
Yeah. We'll discuss a proof, but let's just the other way. Your question: when does closed? So the first claim is exact implies closed, provided the differential form is sufficiently nice. The second thing is closed does not always imply exact. And three, if D is convex, then closed implies exact.
I had one doubt.
Tell me.
Like, are there extra conditions on the nature of region D, like connectedness or something, for these conditions to work? Or like normally we had done some extra conditions while doing calculus course, so I'm not exactly sure if that applies here as
We
well.
will actually recall a little bit of calculus. Yeah, just bear with me. Let's just see the proof. Yeah, maybe you will get an answer to your question. Yeah, let's just see the proof. But the statement seems okay for on the face of it for now. Does everybody, is everybody with me on this? Everybody follows the statement of this proposition.
I have just a small query. What exactly you mean by convex?
Convex means, D is convex, meaning geometrically convex. If you have 2 points A and B in this region D, then the straight line segment joining A and B should also be entirely in D. Geometrically convex, nothing more, nothing less.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, is that the definition of convexity, or there's something else?
Connected. That is.
Ma'am, can you repeat the definition again?
So convex means, I'll just write down. D subset of R2 is convex, meaning it's geometric convex, if for every pair of points P and Q in D, the line segment joining P and Q lies entirely in D. Joining P and Q lies entirely in D. Is this not the definition of convex set that you are familiar with?
Ma'am, is the same as path connected also?
No. See, path connected means for any point P and Q in D, there is a path joining P and Q in D. So,
Yes.
For example, if you look at a shaded region like this, so let's call it D prime. Now, D prime is path connected, but not convex. See, the straight line segment joining P and Q does not lie in D. See, I'm a bit shabby here. I'll just do it again. But these path connected in this example. Is that okay? See, please don't confuse with. Is that okay?
Yes.
Is that okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the picture that I have drawn here is path connected but not convex. Correct? Is that okay?
Simply connected was about straight lines, right?
Simply connected is also not about straight lines. Simply connected means something is connected and contractible. Every path in that is homotopically equivalent to this. Yeah. So let me not sort of use those terms, which I'm not going to use. Yeah. I don't want
Yeah,
to
it's okay.
I don't want to sort of go far away from MA 108. Just let's just be sort of I'll apologize. Let's just stick to this content here. And if anybody is interested in simply connectedness, we can spend some time on that after the class. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. But I hope everybody is on the same page as me and everybody understands what is the meaning of convexity here, just the geometric convexity. Okay. All right. So let's see a proof to part one. Yeah. So assuming that this differential form is exact means that there is a function u of two variables x and y, such that the partial derivative of u with respect to x is m and the partial derivative of u with respect to y is n. Correct? Now, what is it I want to say? I want to say that this differential form is closed. Yeah. Remember, what is the definition of closed? If I have to claim that this differential form is closed, I have to show that the partial derivative of m with respect to y variable equals the partial derivative of m with respect to the x variable. So let's compute the partial derivative of m with respect to the y variable. That is this, correct? So I'm going to differentiate u with respect to x first and then follow it up by differentiation with respect to y. And the partial derivative of n with respect to x is, you need to differentiate u with respect to the y variable first and then follow it up by the differentiation with respect to the x variable. Now, what does closed differential form demand? The closed differential form saying that m dx plus n dy is closed differential form demands that my equal to nx, the partial of m with respect to y equals the partial of n with respect to x. So why is that the case in this proposition here? Why is that the case here?
Because du by dx is equal, del u by del x is equal to del u by del y, right?
Del u by del x is not equal to del u
No,
by.
no, no. Del
They are
square.
both continuous.
So why
Yes.
is that? Why is that? Why is
Mixed
that?
partial theorem.
Because C1.
Is the mixed partial
Yes,
theorem?
yes,
Yes, yeah. So what is the mixed partial theorem? Let's just quickly recall that.
If the function is C1.
Suppose if you have a function,
It has to be a C1 function, yes.
right. So you have a real valued function of two variables. Let's call it f, and both second order derivatives, mixed partials exist and are continuous wherever they are defined. Then the mixed partials agree. Correct? Is that okay? So this is
Yes.
something you learned in your calculus course very recently, right? So an exact differential form is closed. This follows by the theorem of mixed partials. Okay, very nice, good. So this means that this differential form is closed. Is this okay with everybody present here? This proof?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes. Okay, excellent. So let's look at the second part. The first, assumption here is that every closed form need not be exact, right? And the second thing is that if you throw in this convexity assumption on this region D, then it so turns out that every closed form is exact. Now, what is so special about convexity? We will see in a bit. Okay. Okay, so before we go ahead, here's something that I wanted to say that perhaps this was done in MA 111, that this proof is much the same as saying that the curl of grad is 0. Is that correct? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, is that okay? If not, that's all right, also fine. Yeah, don't bother too much. But it's much the same proof. Yeah, okay. All right. So let's look at part 2 now. Okay, so let's assume that D is convex, and what is that we are given? We are given a closed differential form to start off with, right? Remember what is closed means? Closed means that the partial of m with respect to y is same as the partial of n with respect to x. And what are we required to show? We are required to show that this differential form is exact. Yeah, so we need to find a function u. Okay, so how do we do that? So the suggestion is, let's look at this vector field H defined like this. Okay. All right. Now, what is that we know? M and N, by assumption, we assume that the first order partial derivatives of M and N both exist and are continuous on D, right? So which means that H is continuously differentiable on D, correct? So I'm going to calculate the curl of this vector field. Yeah, remember what is the curl of this vector field? So here it is. So the curl of this vector field H. So you look at this, correct? Yes. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is this? The output is nx minus my k. Correct? Is that okay? Along the k direction. Does everybody agree with me? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. But if D is convex, this will be equal to 0, right?
Right. But if D is convex, curl free is grad. Yeah, I'm curl free is grad. Yeah. So this H with this vector field H is such that the curl of this vector field is 0. So you remember from 111, MA 111, that curl free is grad, which means that there is a function phi of two variables such that h is actually the gradient of the function phi. Is that okay? Does everybody remember this?
Ma'am,
Yes,
can you
Can you
explain this
explain?
once?
Yeah, just a
Yes,
minute.
ma'am.
I'll just mute all. I see some background noise. Yeah, I'll just go back to the slide. Give me a minute. Huh? So I considered this vector field H, and then I computed the curl of this vector field. Now, if the curl of this vector field is 0 and D is assumed to be convex, then I'm saying that let's recall, this must be done in your calculus course, that for convex domains, if you have a vector field such that its curl is 0, then there must be a function phi such that H can be written as the gradient of that. H is the gradient field. Is that correct? Does everybody remember that theorem?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad. Okay, all right. Everybody remembers that theorem? So this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
where the
Yes, ma'am.
convexity assumption comes in. Had D been not convex, then I cannot make this claim. Correct? Yes. So saying that the gradient of phi is the given vector field H is precisely saying that the partial derivative of phi with respect to X is M and the partial derivative of phi with respect to Y is N. Correct? Yes. So this is exactly saying, the function u that we were looking for is precisely this function phi, right? And this is exactly saying that this differential form m dx plus n dy is exact. Correct? Is that okay?
Ma'am, I have a query.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am, how does convexity means that the gradient would be curl free?
How does convexity mean that?
Means that the curl free is great.
See, I will not do that again. This was done in your calculus course. If at all needed, I can sort of cite a reference and give that to you. Yeah. So convexity, allows you to integrate independent of paths. So all of that goes into the proof of this. Yeah. In fact, one can relax this convexity assumption. This is true in much more general theorems, which I think some of your friends were pointed out. What are they called? What are they called?
Like open and simply connected.
These are simply connected domains. Have you
Right.
seen those domains? Was this discussed in your
Yes,
calculus
yes,
course?
yes, it
Yes,
was.
yes,
It was.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Whole
Yes.
free, whole free region.
Yes, so that was
Shouldn't
called
have
whole
whole.
free region. Okay, all right, okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, but for the purposes of this course, let's be content with convexity assumption, and at least this one person who seems to have can't locate the proof. So I'm sorry, I would apologize. In the interest of time, I would not sort of repeat that proof here. That if D is convex, then curl free is grad. But I can certainly point out a reference, and I will do that when I put up the slides on Moodle. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am, that's fine.
Yeah, is that okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So this is something that you did in your calculus course. Okay, so let's just quickly sort of go back to the statement of the proposition. Just recall whatever you proved. Suppose that m dx plus n dy is a nice differential form. By nice, I mean that first order partial derivatives of m and n both exist and are continuous on a region D. Then if it is exact, then it is closed, and the converse is also true if D is convex. Yeah. So saying that something is exact is very, very difficult in general to check, but something is closed so something is closed or not can be computed. Yeah, it's a simple computation and one can check. So here is an important tool, right? So this proposition is very, very important. And so are there any questions at this point? Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. A very simple
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
That
Go ahead.
so. So, ma'am, like we have these, so we are proving that closed forms and exact forms, etc. And we prove that there exists some phi of xy which is equal to c, phi of xy equal to c, which is an implicit solution. So, for number one, there might also exist some other solutions of that ODE, right?
Correct.
So, but then are we not interested in them, or we'll find different methods to find them?
We will see, you know, at the moment we are interested in finding one solution of an ODE.
But that we can, ma'am, sometimes also find by pure guessing also. Like
Correct.
some
If you can
function.
get that, excellent, excellent. No, what is better
So
than that?
that isn't an issue.
Yeah,
That isn't an issue.
no. So it's excellent if you can find something by inspection. All of this is devised in, you know, in the scenario when that doesn't work.
Okay, right.
Right? See, we are working out very, very simplistic examples here so far.
Right.
Right, but that's not the case in general.
And is there like, can we ever comment on the total number of solutions an ODE will have? Like,
see, we will
distinct solutions.
Yeah, so we will address this problem of, you know, existence of solutions and uniqueness of solutions
Yes,
little later in the course. We will come to that
okay.
little later, but not now. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
You know, when does a solution exist? If at all, you know, is it unique? How many solutions exist? You know, we will address that
Correct.
later. Yeah.
Okay.
So for the moment, what we are interested in is, you know, finding one solution. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think I'll maybe just.
Ma'am, will the guessing work in exam? Will that be okay for exam? If it is
don't
subjective.
worry.
If it's an objective exam, then of course.
So that is why the statement, if it is subjective.
Yeah, don't worry about the exams. The exam is far away now. Let's concentrate on learning. You know, let's try to sort of utilize some, you know, our energy and effort to learn something new. Yeah. See,
Ma'am.
if you're sort of.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Someone wants to interrupt.
Ma'am.
Good. Yeah.
Ma'am, in the place of D is convex, if there is a D is simply connected, then it all
correct.
in the same.
Then the same statement is true, right? Correct. Very nice. Yeah. So, but you know, convexity. Convex domains are examples of simply connected domains. Yeah, simply connected is a little more general notion. Okay, good. All right. So I think I will just stop right here for today. In the interest of time, I have maybe 2 minutes to go. If you have some more questions, then we can take it. I will postpone examples on this to next time. Any further questions? Yes.
Once, will be taught methods of determining whether a domain is convex or not?
See, convexity, geometric convexity, you can sort of see by visualizing, no? You're given a domain explicitly, you can check whether it's convex or not, right? You can draw a little picture in R2, right? Geometric convexity is not difficult to check.
True.
Correct?
You can just check for edges and all and angles.
But analytically, will we see it in examples?
I think to prove that something is convex I do remember it being a very difficult process because you have to assume a line with mx plus c and then show that it will always connect.
See, in general, you know, you have rectangles on, you know, at best, you know, whole of R2, very, very nice things, you know, disk and things like that, you know, simple examples. Yeah. So don't worry about, you know, we are not dealing with pathological cases here. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Also, ma'am, all the methods like for like calculating gradient, etc., that we had learned in MA 111 will work like are allowed here as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. You know,
I mean, yeah, math won't change, but again,
sure. Yeah. See, we will continue this discussion. I'll just stop the recording. Give me a minute.